thanks so much for joining me for another journaling video. In this video, I'm using this image here as an inspiration, and that one is from my stash, but everything else that I will be using is from a pen pal that I've just received a package from. Whenever I receive packages in the mail that are like that, of course, I really like to create a full spread about that package and about the letter that was sent to me and just the emotions that I felt opening it, and how exciting it is to be getting these sorts of happy mail. So these are the different elements. This is such a beautiful piece of vintage paper. I'm very excited to use it in this spread. And the first thing I want to do is play around with that envelope. But first I'm showing you, whenever my journal is not at level, I like to prop it up with something on the side that is a little bit lower. That happens when I'm working typically at the back of the journal, and also whenever my journal gets bulky. So if you find that it's difficult for you to work in it, I would definitely suggest trying that. Here I'm trimming down the envelope as it is too big for my journal, and this way I'll be able to use the side where I cut it as the opening, and I'm just gluing shut the real opening. That'll just work better in my spread. I settle for this corner of the page, and I will secure the envelope with some washi tape, which this is not a great piece of washi tape, unfortunately. It's cute, but it doesn't stick very well, so I will add some glue to make sure that it stays down on the page. And on the other side of it, I will use a washi tape that is stickier and just more reliable. I really like to go from the bigger pieces of ephemera to the smaller ones. Therefore, I'm going with the fairy image now. And I want to frame it with that, a little bit of that vintage paper. I really like that there's a bit of a stain in the corner of that paper, and it pulls the same tones as the image. And it also says actualidad in the top, which I think the translation for that in English is current events. So I thought it was fitting, since of course I just received that in the mail. So I'm playing around a little bit, making sure that I like the side that it's on, and then I will glue that down on there. I loved that image so much. It's from a package I just ordered in the mail, and it brought back some memories for me. So I didn't journal about this in this spread, but I thought it was nice to use an image that really kind of meant more. As a child, my cousin and I would make these big scenarios, and we would draw ourselves as fairies, and we were allowed 2 elements each. I always had water and air and she always had the fire and the earth. And this fairy here just reminded me of that, and how we used to spend hours drawing our different outfits and powers, and then we would go into the woods and play and pretend to be those fairies. So and now I'm just moving on to the botanical pieces that I want to include in this spread. I am speeding up quite a bit through that. I become very indecisive with smaller bits and pieces, trying to frame the image appropriately, and just trying to pick the ones that I like the most. But I went with the colors that I like the most, and just the way that the leaves were framing the image I ended up really liking. Now that I've stuck those down, I do want to include one of those labels, but I'm not sure yet where it'll work out. I have quite a few to choose from, and I'm trying to decide which one I like best. They're all very similar and have the same types of colors, but still looks different. And there's this really cute little envelope, and I just love it so much, so I really wanted to include that in this spread, as the blues go well with the image and the other botanicals. There's an image on this vintage paper that I really would like to use, so I tear this up, but unfortunately I didn't quite tear it big enough to cover all of the white space from the envelope. So what I'll be doing is using some scraps from other projects that go well in colors, and I'm gonna put those down on the edges of the envelope first, and then I will be able to glue down the vintage paper. I really like to try and use my scraps that way. They're great fillers, and then this way I don't feel like I'm wasting anything. I'm just using my glue stick for most of this spread. It works fine for most papers. I'm just trying to glue down this piece here straight, which can be difficult. I'm going back to the label, trying to figure out if this is what I want to do, but I really like that one label there. I make sure that that's the one I want to pick, but I ended up going back to the very first one I originally wanted to include. I just like the tones of that paper a little bit more, and the design around the edges seemed to fit the spread a little bit better. I have a piece of a wallpaper scrap that I won't like the colors of, and I think it would look good with the rest of the spread, so I'm just trying to see if I can include it. And I've moved that little envelope onto the bigger envelope, and I'm adding a piece of washi tape that was also included in my package. Now I'm moving back to the wallpaper, and I do decide to include it, but I include it on the other side of this music sheet. I'm trying to avoid making my spread too bottom heavy. I tend to always gravitate towards the bottoms of my pages to create my collages. So that's really something that I'm working on, and that's why I chose to put that wallpaper elsewhere. And for this botanical piece here, I will use a wet glue to glue it down, since it's a little bit thicker and I wanted to make sure that it would stuck to the page better. But I also wanted some journaling space, and because the music pages don't offer a ton of journaling space and I like to write a lot, I grabbed another piece from this pen pal, and it's a little graph paper that has these, I think, mathematic notes. And this one had quite a bit of a generous blank space on there. So I'll be gluing that down to create a journaling area for myself. Now I'm adding the letter my pen pal gave me into the envelope and putting that tiny envelope back on there. And I thought that I could use the rest of that blank piece of graph paper and slide it into the envelope to add the opportunity to have a little bit more journaling. And I love putting journaling in envelopes. It's like a secret journaling. It has a great feel to it. This is the part of the little package that my pen pal sent me. It's so beautiful the way that she makes it. So I'm grabbing another piece of washi tape just to frame the picture better, but I'll give you a better look here at how lovely. It's so pretty. It truly is a pleasure to open the packages that she sends. Finally, I want to include yet another journaling space to tuck into that little bit of wallpaper that I put onto the music sheet. And I'm using, it's a star map from digital Curio, and I picked the Pisces one because my pen pal is a Pisces. And I'm just gonna fold that into and tuck it in there. The last bit I want to add on to this page before doing my journaling is just a little piece of fabric that I make into a bit of a ruffle, and I staple that onto the page to create some more texture. And then I'll be ready to move into my journaling part, which I have included in this video a little bit. So I selected a purple pen to journal with this time around. I really like to include colored journaling, I guess. Whenever there's a color suited to my journaling, I choose that rather than stick to the brown or the black. So that's it for that spread. I really hope that you enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to journaling some more with all of you. I do have a mini series coming up next week with a fall journal that I'm making. So I'm sharing my process on how I like to create my journals, and just giving you a glimpse on some of the different steps that I take towards that. But for now, I really hope that you have a great rest of your week, and I'm wishing you all the best. We'll talk soon. Thanks so much.